Billionaire was ignored by everyone until the waitress gave him her last piece of cake. The rain hammered against the windows of the Ocean View Diner on Santa Monica Boulevard like bullets against glass. It was 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday night in October, and the neon sign outside flickered weakly, casting an eerie red glow across the empty parking lot. Inside, the fluorescent lights hummed overhead, illuminating worn vinyl booths and a checkered floor that had seen better decades. Adam Smith pulled his worn baseball cap lower over his eyes as he pushed through the glass door. His designer jeans were deliberately ripped and faded, his expensive sneakers scuffed beyond recognition. A 3-day stubble covered his face, and his usually perfect hair was disheveled and greasy. To anyone looking, he was just another drifter seeking shelter from the storm. But Adam Smith was worth $2.3 billion. The transformation had taken him 2 hours in his Malibu mansion's guest bathroom. Every detail calculated, every imperfection planned, because tonight, for the first time in 15 years, Adam wanted to be invisible. He wanted to know what it felt like to be nobody. "We're closing in 10 minutes, barked a heavy-set man from behind the counter, not bothering to look up from his newspaper. His name tag read Frank Manager in faded plastic letters. Adam nodded silently and slid into a corner booth, the vinyl squeaking under his weight. The diner was nearly empty except for an elderly man nursing black coffee 3 booths away, and a woman in a bright yellow uniform who was methodically wiping down tables with the precision of someone who had done this thousands of times before. The waitress looked up, and Adam felt something unexpected, a jolt of recognition, not of her face, but of something deeper. Her name tag read Amanda, and despite the exhaustion evident in her posture, her brown eyes held a warmth that seemed to light up the dreary space around her. Amanda Miller was 28, though the fluorescent lights made her look older. Her auburn hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, rebellious strands escaping to frame a face that was pretty in an understated way. Her uniform was clean but worn, the yellow fabric faded from countless washes. Dark circles under her eyes told the story of someone who worked too hard for too little. She approached his table with a tired smile that somehow managed to be genuine. "Hi there. I'm really sorry, but we're about to close. I can get you something quick, though. Coffee? Maybe a sandwich?" Adam studied her face. No recognition flickered in her eyes. No sudden change in demeanor. She was looking at him the way she would look at any customer, with a simple, professional courtesy. Adam's voice came out rougher than intended. He cleared his throat. "I haven't eaten all day." It wasn't entirely a lie. In his rush to escape the suffocating atmosphere of his mansion, where his assistant had just delivered news of another business betrayal, he had forgotten about dinner. But more than that, he was testing her, seeing how she would react to someone who looked like they couldn't afford much. Amanda's expression softened immediately. "Oh no, you must be starving." Antelis. She glanced toward the kitchen, then back at him. "Let me see what I can do." Frank slammed his newspaper down. "Amanda, we're closed. Send him to McDonald's down the street." "It's okay, Frank. I'll take care of it." Her voice was calm but firm. She turned back to Adam. "The grill's already off, but I think we have some leftover meatloaf from dinner service. Would that work?" Adam nodded, surprised by the kindness in her voice. When was the last time someone had spoken to him with such genuine concern? In his world of board meetings and business deals, every interaction was calculated, every word measured for advantage. "I'll be right back," Amanda said, disappearing into the kitchen. Adam watched her through the service window as she moved with quiet efficiency, heating up food that should have been thrown away, preparing a plate with care as if she were serving a paying customer in a 5-star restaurant instead of a vagrant in a dying diner. Frank shook his head in disgust. That girl's too soft for her own good. giving away free food to every sob story that walks in here. He gathered his things and headed for the back office. Lock up when you're done, Amanda. And this better not come out of the till. It won't, Amanda called back, her voice steady despite the obvious tension. She returned with a plate of meatloaf, mashed potatoes, and green beans, steam still rising from the food. The portion was generous, and she had even added a dinner roll on the side. Here you go, she said, setting it down in front of him. Can I get you something to drink? Coffee's fresh. How much? Adam asked, reaching for his wallet. Amanda hesitated. Don't worry about it. No, I insist. I can pay. She looked at him more closely then, perhaps seeing past the disguise to something else. Not his wealth, but his humanity. I'm sure you can. But tonight, it's on me. Adam stared at the food, then up at her. Why? Amanda was quiet for a moment, considering her answer. Because everyone deserves kindness, especially when they're having a rough day. And you look like you've been having more than one. The words hit Adam like a physical blow. When was the last time someone had shown him kindness without wanting something in return? When was the last time someone had looked at him and seen not his bank account or his connections, but simply someone who might need help? Thank you, he said, and meant it, more than he had meant anything in years. Amanda smiled, a real smile this time, not the professional one she had given him earlier. Enjoy your meal. I'll be cleaning up if you need anything else. As Adam ate, he watched Amanda work. She moved with the rhythm of someone who had spent countless hours in this space, wiping tables, refilling salt shakers, sweeping floors. But there was something else in the way she worked, a dignity, a pride in doing the job well despite its humble nature. The elderly man finished his coffee and shuffled toward the door, leaving exact change on his table. Night, Amanda. Night, Mr. Peterson. Drive safe in this rain. Now it was just the two of them. The rain continued its assault on the windows, and the neon sign outside flickered more desperately, as if fighting against the storm. Adam finished his meal, and Amanda approached with the coffee pot. Refill? Please. He watched as she poured, noting the steadiness of her hands despite her obvious exhaustion. How long have you been working today? Since noon, she said matter-of-factly. But I had my morning job before that, so... She shrugged. It's been about 14 hours, I guess. 14 hours? Adam couldn't hide his shock. When do you sleep? Amanda laughed, but there was no humor in it. Sleep's a luxury I can't afford much of lately. She seemed to realize she was sharing too much with a stranger and straightened up. But hey, that's life, right? Adam wanted to ask more, to understand what drove someone to work themselves to exhaustion, but something in her posture warned him off. Instead, he looked around the empty diner, taking in details he hadn't noticed before. The cracked vinyl on several booth seats, the water stain on the ceiling tile, the outdated cash register that looked like it belonged in a museum. Quiet night, he observed. Most weeknights are. Frank keeps threatening to close earlier, but he's too stubborn to admit this place is dying. Amanda glanced around with affection despite her words. Been here since I was 16. It's not much, but it's honest work. Honest work, Adam repeated. The phrase felt foreign in his mouth. When was the last time he had thought about his work in terms of honesty rather than profit margins and market dominance? Anyway, Amanda continued, beginning to wipe down the counter, enough about my exciting life. What brings you out on a night like this? Adam considered his answer carefully. Just needed to get away from everything for a while. I understand that feeling. She paused in her cleaning. Sometimes the world gets too loud, you know? Too many people wanting things from you, expecting things. Sometimes you just want to disappear. The accuracy of her words stunned him. How could this waitress in a failing diner understand exactly what he was feeling? How could someone who probably struggled to pay rent comprehend the burden of having everyone around you motivated by your wealth? Yeah, he said quietly, That's exactly it. They fell into comfortable silence, the only sounds the rain against the windows and the hum of the fluorescent lights. Amanda finished her cleaning and glanced at the clock above the kitchen door. "I hate to kick you out, but I really do need to lock up. Frank gets crazy about the electric bill." Adam nodded and reached for his wallet again. "Let me at least tip you." "That's not necessary. Please, you've been incredibly kind." Amanda hesitated, then shook her head. "Keep your money. You probably need it more than I do right now." If only she knew, Adam thought, but instead of feeling amused by the irony, he felt something else, a deep respect for this woman who had shown him compassion when she thought he had nothing to offer in return. He stood to leave, then turned back. "What's your name again?" "Amanda." "Amanda Miller." "Amanda Miller," he repeated, committing it to memory. "Thank you for everything." "Just being human," she replied with that genuine smile. "Take care of yourself out there." As Adam walked toward the door, Amanda called out, "Wait!" He turned to see her hurrying toward him with a small white box. "I almost forgot. We had one piece of chocolate cake left from today. Well, it was supposed to be my dinner, but you should have it for the road." Adam stared at the box in her outstretched hands. "Your dinner?" "I'm not that hungry anyway," she lied, though her stomach chose that moment to growl audibly, betraying her. "Amanda, I can't take your food." "Sure you can." She pressed the box into his hands. "Besides, chocolate cake isn't exactly dinner food, right? It's dessert, and everyone deserves a little sweetness in their life." Adam looked down at the box, then back at her face. In his 30 years of business, he had witnessed every form of human behavior: greed, ambition, desperation, manipulation. But this simple act of generosity from someone who clearly had so little left him speechless. "I don't know what to say." "Don't say anything. Just enjoy it." Adam pushed through the door into the rain, clutching the box of cake like a lifeline. As he walked to his car, a beat-up Honda Civic he kept for occasions like this, he turned back to see Amanda through the diner window, turning off lights and gathering her things. Inside his car, Adam sat in the darkness for a long moment, staring at the white cake box. Then, carefully, he opened it. Inside was a perfect slice of chocolate cake with rich fudge frosting. A small plastic fork was taped to the inside of the lid with a napkin that had a smiley face drawn on it in blue ink. For the first time in months, Adam Smith smiled. Not the calculated smile he used in board meetings or the practiced charm he deployed at charity galas. A real smile. The kind that came from somewhere deep inside, from a place he had thought was permanently closed off. He took a bite of the cake. It was simple, probably made from a box mix, nothing like the elaborate desserts his personal chef prepared, but it was the most delicious thing he had tasted in years, because it came with something money couldn't buy: genuine human kindness. As he drove back to his mansion in Malibu, Adam made a decision. Tomorrow night, he would return to the Ocean View Diner. Not as Adam Smith, billionaire CEO, but as the man Amanda had shown kindness to. The man who had been seen not for his wealth or status, but simply as someone who needed help. He had no idea that this decision would change both their lives forever. Brr. 3 nights later, Adam found himself parked outside the Ocean View Diner again. He had tried to stay away. He had buried himself in board meetings, conference calls with Tokyo, and the endless stream of documents that required his signature. But every time he closed his eyes, he saw Amanda's tired smile and remembered the taste of that simple chocolate cake. Tonight, he had chosen a different disguise. A faded construction worker's jacket over a plain T-shirt, work boots that he had deliberately scuffed in his garden, and a baseball cap from a local hardware store. He looked like any blue-collar worker grabbing a late dinner after a long shift. The diner was busier than Tuesday night. 5 customers scattered across the booths, the smell of coffee and fried food heavy in the air, Adam slid into the same corner booth and waited. Amanda emerged from the kitchen carrying 2 plates, her movements as efficient as before. She delivered the food to a trucker near the window, refilled his coffee, and made small talk about the weather. Then she turned and saw Adam. For a moment recognition flickered across her face. Not of who he really was, but of the man she had helped 3 nights ago. "Hey!" Her face lit up with genuine pleasure. "You came back. How are you doing?" "Better," Adam said, and realized it was true. "Thanks to you." Amanda approached with a coffee pot and a menu. "I'm so glad to hear that. Coffee? Please." She poured the coffee and set the menu down. "The meatloaf's good tonight. Actually made fresh today, not like last time." She lowered her voice conspiratorially. "Frank wasn't here for the dinner rush." Adam smiled. "What do you recommend?" "Honestly, the pot roast. It's my grandmother's recipe. Well, Frank claims it's his, but I've been making it the same way for 5 years." She paused. "I'm Amanda, by the way. I don't think I properly introduced myself last time." "John," Adam said, using the first fake name that came to mind. "John Davis." "Nice to officially meet you, John Davis." She extended her hand, and when he shook it, Adam was struck by how small and calloused it was. These were hands that worked hard for every dollar. "I'll have the pot roast." "Good choice. Be right back." As Amanda walked away, Adam observed her more carefully. Her uniform was different, cleaner, newer. Had she bought it recently? He noticed she moved with less exhaustion than Tuesday night, though dark circles still shadowed her eyes. The diner's other customers provided a soundtrack of casual conversation, a young couple sharing a milkshake, an elderly woman reading while she ate soup, the trucker discussing routes with Frank. It was a slice of America that Adam rarely saw from his executive suite overlooking downtown Los Angeles. Amanda returned with his food and slid into the booth across from him. "Mind if I sit? It's been crazy today, and my feet are killing me." "Of course." Adam was surprised. In his real life, people only sat with him when they wanted something. "Long day. 14 hours again, I swear. Sometimes I think I live here more than at home." She rubbed her temples. "Sorry, I shouldn't complain. Work is work, right?" "You said you have multiple jobs." Amanda nodded. 3, actually. I clean offices downtown from 6 to 11 a.m., then I have a lunch shift at a cafe in Venice Beach, and then here from 6 p.m. until close. Weekends I pick up extra shifts wherever I can. Adam nearly choked on his pot roast. That's over 80 hours a week." 83 usually. Amanda's voice was matter-of-fact. "But hey, rent doesn't pay itself, right? Especially in Santa Monica." "That's insane. When do you sleep?" "Sleep is overrated." She laughed, but Adam could hear the exhaustion underneath. "I catch a few hours between jobs, sometimes nap in my car during breaks. You do what you have to do." Adam had never worked more than 60 hours in a week, even during the most crucial business deals. The idea of someone maintaining this schedule long-term seemed impossible. "What about family, friends, any kind of social life?" Amanda's expression grew distant. "Social life's a luxury I can't afford right now. As for family," she paused, "it's just me and my mom. She's not well." "I'm sorry." "She raised me by herself after my dad left when I was 12. Worked 2 jobs to put me through high school, even started saving for my college fund." Amanda's voice grew soft. "I was supposed to go to UCLA. Had a scholarship and everything. What happened? Mom got sick, really sick, used all our savings, and I had to start working to help with medical bills. College had to wait." She shrugged, but Adam could see the pain in her eyes. "That was 10 years ago. Still waiting." The casual way she said it, as if giving up a full scholarship to UCLA was just another minor inconvenience, stunned Adam. He thought about his own son, Michael, who had dropped out of Harvard after 2 years to find himself in Europe, burning through a $1 million trust fund in the process. "What was your major going to be?" "Mathematics, with a focus on data analysis and statistical modeling." For the first time, Amanda's eyes truly lit up. I know it sounds boring, but I've always been good with numbers, patterns, probabilities, finding connections that others miss. My high school math teacher said I had a gift for it. Adam leaned forward, intrigued. That doesn't sound boring at all. That sounds incredibly valuable. Maybe in another life. Amanda glanced at the clock. But in this life, I make coffee and serve pot roast, which, speaking of, how is it? Delicious. Your grandmother's recipe? Actually, my mom's. But don't tell Frank, Amanda winked. She taught me to cook when I was little. Said a woman should be able to take care of herself and others. Guess she was right about that. She sounds like a wise woman. Amanda's smile faltered slightly. She is, or was. The illness, it's affected her mind, too. Some days she doesn't remember me. Other days she's perfectly clear and asks why I'm not in college yet. Her voice cracked almost imperceptibly. Those days are the hardest. Adam felt something twist in his chest. Here was a woman who had sacrificed everything for family, who worked herself to exhaustion without complaint, who had given up her dreams without bitterness. Meanwhile, his own family had spent years fighting over his will, his brother had tried to steal company secrets, and his ex-wife had taken half his fortune in the divorce while cheating with his former business partner. She's lucky to have you, he said quietly. I'm lucky to have her. Amanda straightened up, clearly uncomfortable with the emotional turn. Listen to me, dumping all this on a customer. Frank would have my head. I'm not just a customer. I'm John, remember? And friends can talk about real things. Amanda looked at him curiously. Friends? If you want. You were kind to me when you had no reason to be. That means something. John, I don't even know you. You could be a serial killer for all I know. Are you usually this trusting of potential serial killers? Amanda laughed, a real laugh this time. Only the ones who appreciate my pot roast. They talked for another hour, the conversation flowing easily between light topics and deeper ones. Amanda told him about her favorite books she read voraciously during her car naps, her love of old movies, the diner had a small TV that played classics during slow periods, and her secret dream of traveling to Europe someday. Adam found himself sharing two carefully edited versions of his own experiences. He talked about feeling trapped by expectations, about the loneliness of success, which he framed as the loneliness of failure, about the difficulty of knowing who to trust. You sound like someone who's been hurt, Amanda observed, as she refilled his coffee for the third time. Haven't we all? True, but some people let it make them hard, others let it make them kind. She looked at him directly. You seem like the kind type. If only she knew, Adam thought. The ruthless businessman who had destroyed competitors and fired thousands of employees to increase profit margins. The man who hadn't spoken to his own son in 2 years over a business disagreement. I'm not sure about that. I am. You came back here, didn't you? Most people who get help from a stranger just move on with their lives. But you came back to check in, to say thank you properly. That says something about your character. Adam stared into his coffee cup. When was the last time someone had complimented his character rather than his intelligence, his business acumen, or his wealth? Amanda, Frank's voice cut through their conversation. Stop chatting and start cleaning. We close in 30 minutes. Sorry, Amanda whispered, standing up. I should get back to work. Of course. Adam reached for his wallet. What do I owe you? The pot roast is $12.99. But the conversation was free. Adam left $20 on the table and stood to go. Keep the change. That's too much. It's perfect. He headed toward the door, then turned back. Amanda? Yeah? I hope things get better, for you and your mom. Thanks, John. That means a lot. As Adam drove home, he couldn't stop thinking about Amanda's story. A full scholarship to UCLA, a gift for mathematics and data analysis, dreams deferred for family responsibility. It was the kind of raw human tragedy that his wealth could easily solve. but his disguise made him possible to address. Back in his Malibu mansion, Adam stood in his study looking out at the Pacific Ocean. The room was filled with awards, photographs with world leaders, and first editions of books he never had time to read. On his desk sat a silver-framed photo from happier times, him, his ex-wife Sarah, and 10-year-old Michael at Disneyland. That marriage had ended when Sarah discovered he cared more about quarterly profits than family dinners. Michael had sided with his mother, and their relationship had never recovered. Now his son was somewhere in Thailand sending postcards, but never phone calls. Adam picked up his phone and scrolled through his contacts. Hundreds of names, business associates, politicians, celebrities who kissed his ass at charity galas. But not one of them would sit with him in a diner and talk about real things. Not one of them would offer him their last piece of cake. He found himself looking forward to returning to the Ocean View Diner, not for the food or the atmosphere, but for the chance to be John Davis, a man whose worth wasn't measured in dollars and whose company was valued for reasons that had nothing to do with what he could provide. For the first time in years, Adam felt like he had found something genuine, something real. He just hoped he could find a way to help Amanda without destroying the trust she had placed in him. 2 weeks had passed, and Adam's visits to the Ocean View Diner had become routine. Every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday night, he would arrive at 10 p.m. as John Davis, the construction worker who had nowhere else to go. Amanda had begun saving him the corner booth, and their conversations had grown deeper with each visit. Tonight felt different. Amanda seemed more distracted than usual, her smile forced, her movements less graceful. She had spilled coffee twice and mixed up orders, something Adam had never seen her do. "Everything okay?" he asked as she set down his usual pot roast. "Fine," she said quickly, then caught herself. "Sorry, long day? Actually, long week. Want to talk about it?" Amanda glanced around the diner. Only 2 other customers remained, a couple finishing dessert and an old man reading a newspaper. Frank was in his office, door closed, probably doing paperwork or sleeping. She slid into the booth across from John, her shoulders sagging with exhaustion. "I got some news today about my mom." Adam's chest tightened. "Bad news?" "Her condition is getting worse. The doctor wants to run more tests, but—" Amanda's voice trailed off. She stared at her hands, which were trembling slightly. "The insurance company is fighting everything. They say the tests are experimental and not medically necessary." "That's ridiculous. If her doctor ordered them—" "Insurance companies don't care what doctors order. They care about their bottom line." There was a bitterness in Amanda's voice that Adam had never heard before. "Do you know what it's like to watch someone you love deteriorate while bureaucrats in suits decide whether their life is worth the cost?" Adam knew exactly what that was like, but not from Amanda's perspective. He had been the man in the suit making those calculations. As CEO of Technova Industries, his company's health insurance subsidiary had denied countless claims to maintain profit margins. The irony was suffocating. "How much do the tests cost?" $8,000. Might as well be $8 million. Amanda laughed, but there was no humor in it. "I've been doing the math obsessively. I'm good at math, remember? Even if I picked up extra shifts at all 3 jobs, sold my car, pawned everything I own, I'm still short." "What about payment plans, medical loans?" "I tried. My credit is shot from the previous medical bills, and Mom's insurance already considers her a high-risk patient." Amanda's voice cracked. "The worst part is, she doesn't even understand what's happening anymore. Yesterday she asked me why I looked so sad. I told her it was nothing, just tired from work. And you know what she said?" Adam shook his head, though he dreaded the answer. "She said, 'Honey, you work too hard. You should be in college, following your dreams.' She doesn't remember that I gave up college for her." Tears welled in Amanda's eyes, And I'm glad she doesn't. At least one of us can still believe I might have a future." The words hit Adam like a physical blow. He reached across the table and covered her hand with his, noting how small and cold it felt. "Amanda, you do have a future. This situation with your mom, it's temporary. Things will get better." "Will they?" She looked at him with eyes full of pain. "I'm 28 years old, John. I have no degree, no savings, no prospects. I clean toilets for a living and serve coffee to truckers. My biggest accomplishment is that I can make the rent most months." "That's not true." "It is true. And you know what the really pathetic part is? I'm grateful for it. Grateful for these dead-end jobs because they keep food on the table and a roof over our heads." She pulled her hand away and wiped her eyes. "Sorry, I shouldn't be dumping this on you. You have your own problems." Adam wanted to tell her that his problems were insignificant compared to hers, that he could solve her crisis with a single phone call, that $8,000 was less than he spent on wine in a month. Instead, he said, "Maybe I can help. I might know someone." "No." Amanda's voice was firm. "Thank you, but no. I've learned not to depend on other people. Everyone has their own struggles, and I can't ask you to take on mine." "But what if I want to help?" "Then you're kinder than I deserve, but kindness doesn't pay medical bills." Amanda stood up. "I should get back to work. Frank gets cranky when the tables aren't perfect." As she walked away, Adam felt a familiar rage building inside him. Not at Amanda, but at the system that had trapped her, at insurance companies that valued profit over human life, at a world that wasted someone with her intelligence and heart in menial labor while rewarding mediocrity and connections, at himself for being part of that system. The memories came flooding back then, triggered by Amanda's story of betrayal by institutions that should have protected her. 5 years ago, Technova Industries' boardroom Adam sat at the head of the polished conference table, reviewing quarterly reports. His brother David sat to his right, younger, charming, and supposedly loyal. They had built Technova together from a small startup to a tech giant worth billions. "The insurance subsidiary is dragging down our margins," David said, pointing to the financial projections. "Too many payouts for experimental treatments." "Default?" "People's lives depend on those treatments," Adam replied, "and our shareholders depend on profits. We're not a charity, Adam." Adam had argued for maintaining comprehensive coverage, but David had allies on the board. The vote was close, but Adam's ethical stance lost. Coverage was reduced, experimental treatments were eliminated, and millions of people lost access to potentially life-saving care. 6 months later, Adam discovered that David had been secretly negotiating to sell his shares to their biggest competitor, Titan Industries. The sale would have given Titan controlling interest in Technova and cost thousands of jobs. The confrontation was brutal. "You sold us out," Adam said, cornering David in his office. "I sold my shares to the highest bidder. That's capitalism, brother." "Those shares were supposed to stay in the family. We had an agreement." "Agreements change." "Besides, Titan offered twice the market value. I'd be stupid not to take it." "What about loyalty? What about the employees who trusted us?" David laughed. "Loyalty doesn't pay for my new house in Malibu or my kid's private school. You're too sentimental, Adam. That's always been your weakness." Adam had managed to block the sale through legal maneuvers, but the damage was done. The brother he had trusted with everything had been willing to destroy their life's work for money. 2 years later, his Malibu mansion Sarah was packing her Louis Vuitton suitcases when Adam came home from a business trip to London. Their son, Michael, sat on the stairs, 14 years old, and crying. "Where are you going?" Adam asked. "Away from you," Sarah replied without looking up. "I'm taking Michael." "Sarah, we can work through whatever—" "Can we work through your affair?" She turned to face him, her eyes blazing. "Oh, wait, that was my affair, with your business partner, who, by the way, offered me more attention in 6 months than you've given me in 6 years. Adam felt the world tilt. "Richard, You're sleeping with Richard? Was sleeping with Richard. Now I'm marrying him. She held up her left hand, showing off a diamond ring that was larger than the one Adam had given her. He actually notices when I'm in the room. Mom, please don't leave Dad, Michael pleaded from the stairs. Sarah's expression softened only when she looked at their son. Sweetie, your father cares more about his company than his family. He always has. That's not true, Adam protested. Really? When was the last time you came to one of Michael's soccer games? When was the last time we had dinner together without you checking your phone? When was the last time you asked me about my day? Adam couldn't answer because he couldn't remember. The divorce was messy and public. Richard, his former business partner and closest friend, had not only stolen his wife, but had also been leaking proprietary information to competitors. The betrayal cost Technova hundreds of millions in lost contracts. Michael, forced to choose between parents, had chosen his mother. The last words Adam's son had spoken to him were, "Maybe if you had cared about us as much as you care about money, we could have been a family." Adam blinked, returning to the present. Amanda was refilling his coffee cup, her movement still distracted. "John, you okay? You looked like you went somewhere else for a minute." "Just thinking," he said. "About what you said. About not being able to depend on other people." "Yeah, well, life teaches you that lesson pretty quickly. But you still helped me. That first night, you didn't know me from anyone, and you gave me food and kindness." Amanda shrugged. "That's different. That was just being human. Maybe depending on people isn't about grand gestures or life-changing help. Maybe it's about small kindnesses, about knowing someone cares enough to listen." She looked at him curiously. "You talk like someone who's thought about this a lot." "I've had reason to." "Bad breakup, family drama?" Adam nodded. "Both. People I trusted, they had their own priorities. Turned out I wasn't one of them. I'm sorry." That's the worst kind of betrayal, when it comes from people who are supposed to have your back. The strange thing is, I probably deserved it. I wasn't a good person to the people who mattered. I was so focused on work, on success, that I forgot why any of it was supposed to matter. But you learned from it. That's what counts. Did I? Sometimes I wonder if I'm just better at hiding from the people who might hurt me. Amanda sat down across from him again. "Is that what you're doing here? Hiding?" The question was so direct, so perceptive, that Adam almost broke character entirely. She was seeing through his disguise, not to his wealth, but to his emotional truth. "Maybe," he admitted, "this place, talking to you. It feels real in a way my life hasn't felt real in a long time." "I get that. Sometimes I think the only honest conversations I have are with strangers, people who don't know my story, who can't judge my choices. But I do know your story now, and I don't judge your choices. I admire them." "Admire them? I'm a college dropout, working 3 dead-end jobs." "You're a woman who gave up her dreams to take care of someone she loves. You work 80-plus hours a week without complaining. You show kindness to strangers even when you're exhausted and broke. If that's not admirable, I don't know what is." Amanda stared at him for a long moment. "Who are you, John Davis?" The question hung in the air like a challenge. Adam felt the weight of his deception, the growing intimacy of their friendship built on lies. He wanted to tell her everything, who he really was, how he could help her, how much her friendship meant to him. But he also knew that the moment he revealed his identity, everything would change. She would see him differently, wonder about his motives. Question whether their friendship had been real or just another rich man's charity project. "I'm just someone who thinks you deserve better than what life has given you," he said finally. "We all deserve better, but we work with what we have." Frank's voice cut through the moment. "Amanda, last call was 20 minutes ago. Start shutting down." "Right away," Amanda called back. She looked at John apologetically. "I have to—" "I know. Go ahead." As Amanda began her closing routine, Adam watched her work and made a decision. He couldn't reveal who he was, not yet, but maybe there were other ways to help, anonymous ways. He left his usual $20 on the table and headed for the door. At the threshold, he turned back. "Amanda?" "Yeah?" "Don't give up hope about the tests for your mom. Sometimes help comes from unexpected places." She smiled sadly. "Thanks, John. I wish that were true." As Adam drove home through the empty streets of Santa Monica, he was already formulating a plan. He couldn't be Adam Smith, billionaire savior. But maybe he could find another way to get Amanda the help she needed without compromising the trust she had placed in John Davis. It would require careful maneuvering, but he had built an empire on careful maneuvering. The difference was that this time, instead of increasing his wealth, he would be using it for something that actually mattered. For the first time in years, Adam felt like he was about to do something truly important. Adam arrived at the Ocean View Diner on Thursday night to find Amanda's section empty and another waitress covering her tables. The replacement was young, maybe 19, with bleached blonde hair and an attitude that suggested she'd rather be anywhere else. "Where's Amanda?" Adam asked, as the girl reluctantly approached his booth. "Called in sick," she replied, without looking up from her order pad. "What do you want?" Adam ordered coffee and sat waiting, checking his phone every few minutes. In 3 weeks of regular visits, Amanda had never missed a shift. Even when she'd had a cold the previous week, she had worked her full shift, apologizing for her scratchy voice. Something was wrong. He paid for his untouched coffee and drove to his car, pulling out his phone. It took him less than 10 minutes to find Amanda Miller's address using the resources available to a man of his wealth. She lived in a small apartment complex in Mar Vista, about 15 minutes inland from the diner. Adam sat in his Honda Civic outside the modest 2-story building, debating whether to check on her. As John Davis, he had no real reason to know where she lived, but as her friend, and that's what they had become, despite his deception, he was genuinely worried. The decision was made for him when he saw Amanda emerge from the building. Even from a distance he could see she had been crying. Her hair was unwashed, pulled back in a messy ponytail, and she wore sweatpants and an oversized UCLA t-shirt that looked like it had been slept in. She climbed into an ancient Honda Accord that had seen better decades and drove off. Adam followed at a distance, his heart pounding with a mixture of concern and guilt at essentially stalking her. Amanda's destination was Cedars Sinai Medical Center in West Hollywood. Adam watched her park in the visitors section and walk toward the main entrance with the heavy gait of someone carrying unbearable weight. He waited 20 minutes before entering the hospital himself. The lobby was busy with the usual mix of anxious families, medical staff, and visitors. Adam approached the information desk where a kind-faced older woman with silver hair was fielding questions. "Excuse me," he said, "I'm looking for Helen Miller. I'm a friend of the family." The woman checked her computer. "Helen Miller is in the oncology wing, 4th floor. Are you immediate family?" Oncology. The word hit Adam like a physical blow. I'm like a son to her," he lied smoothly. "John Davis. Room 412. Visiting hours end at 9 p.m. Adam took the elevator to the 4th floor, his mind racing. Oncology meant cancer. That explained Amanda's 3 jobs, the exhaustion, the insurance battles. Her mother wasn't just sick, she was fighting for her life. Room 412 was at the end of a long hallway that smelled of disinfectant and hope deferred. Through the partially open door, Adam could see Amanda sitting beside the bed, holding the hand of a woman who looked like an older version of herself. Helen Miller had once been beautiful. Even now, bald from chemotherapy and painfully thin, Adam could see where Amanda had inherited her bone structure and her gentle eyes. But what struck him most was how young she looked, probably only in her early 50s, though the disease had aged her. Adam couldn't hear their conversation, but he could see Amanda's shoulders shaking. She was trying to be strong for her mother, but she was breaking apart. He was about to leave when he heard Helen's voice, weak but clear. "Honey, you don't have to pretend with me. I know what the doctor said." Adam froze, unable to walk away. "Mom, we're going to figure this out," Amanda said, her voice thick with unshed tears. "The insurance will approve the treatment. They have to." "Amanda, sweetheart, look at me." Adam could see Amanda lift her head reluctantly. "I'm dying," Helen said gently. "The cancer has spread too far. We both know that." "Don't say that. Don't you dare say that." "I need to say it because someone has to be realistic here. The experimental treatment costs $200,000. Even if the insurance approved it, which they won't, there's only a 30% chance it would work. 30% is better than 0%. Helen was quiet for a moment. "Do you know what I regret most?" "Mom, I regret that I couldn't give you the life you deserved. You should be married by now, maybe have children of your own. You should have finished college, had a career that challenges that brilliant mind of yours. I don't want any of that without you. But I want it for you. And if you spend the next few months watching me die slowly while you go bankrupt trying to save me, what kind of life will you have left?" Adam heard Amanda's sob echo in the hallway. "I can't lose you, Mom. You're all I have." "No, baby, you have yourself. You have that incredible heart and that beautiful brain that can solve problems others can't even see. You have so much life ahead of you. I threw my life away for medical bills and dead-end jobs. You threw nothing away. You chose love over ambition, and that's never a mistake. But now I'm choosing love over selfishness. I don't want the treatment." "What?" Adam could see Amanda stand up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. "I said I don't want the experimental treatment, even if we could afford it." "You can't make that decision." "I'm not making it for you, honey. I'm making it for me. I'm tired, Amanda. I've been fighting this for 3 years. I want to spend whatever time I have left with my daughter, not hooked up to machines in a hospital room." "So you're just giving up?" "I'm accepting reality, and I'm asking you to do the same." Adam stepped back from the door, his heart breaking for both women. He had thought he understood Amanda's situation, but he had only seen the surface. This wasn't just about medical bills or insurance denials. This was about a daughter losing her only family, about dreams deferred becoming dreams destroyed. He pulled out his phone and stepped into a nearby stairwell, dialing a number he hadn't called in months. "Dr. Elizabeth Johnson," came the voice on the other end. "Elizabeth, it's Adam Smith." "Adam, it's been forever. How are you, doctor?" Chen was the head of oncology at Cedars-Sinai, and one of the few people Adam genuinely respected. They had met years ago when Adam had donated $50 million to the hospital's cancer research program. "I need a favor," Adam said without preamble. "A big one." "Of course. What can I do?" "There's a patient in your ward. Helen Miller, room 412. I need you to review her case personally." "Adam, I can't discuss patient information. I'm not asking for information. I'm asking for you to look at her case with fresh eyes, and if there are treatment options that insurance won't cover, I want to cover them, anonymously." There was a pause. "How do you know this patient?" Adam chose his words carefully. "Her daughter is someone who showed me kindness when I needed it. I want to return the favor." "Anonymous charity isn't really your style, Adam. What's this really about?" "It's about doing the right thing for once in my life." "Can you help me or not? I'll review the case personally and call you back within the hour." Adam hung up and returned to the hallway outside Helen's room. Amanda was back in her chair, holding her mother's hand in silence. Both women looked exhausted by their conversation. "I love you, Mom," Amanda whispered. "I love you too, baby, more than you'll ever know." Adam retreated to the elevator and left the hospital, but he couldn't bring himself to go home. Instead, he drove to the beach in Santa Monica and sat on a bench overlooking the Pacific, waiting for Dr. Chen's call. When his phone rang 53 minutes later, he answered immediately. "Elizabeth?" I reviewed Helen Miller's file. "The situation is complicated." "How complicated?" "The cancer has metastasized, but it's not as advanced as her oncologist initially thought. There's a new immunotherapy protocol that could be effective, but it's expensive and still considered experimental by most insurance companies." "How expensive?" $200,000 for the full treatment cycle. But Adam, even with treatment, her chances aren't great. Maybe 40% survival rate over 5 years. 40% is better than 0%. Is it? The treatment is grueling. She could spend her remaining time sick and in pain, only to die anyway. Adam thought about what he had overheard. Helen was tired, ready to give up. But Amanda wasn't ready to let go. "If it were your mother, what would you do?" Dr. Chen was quiet for a long moment. "I would want her to have the choice. Right now, Helen Miller doesn't really have a choice because she can't afford the treatment. Choice and hope are sometimes the most important medicines we can provide." "Can you offer her the treatment as part of a research study, something that would make it free?" "I can try. We do have a few slots available in a clinical trial for the immunotherapy protocol. The paperwork would take a few days, but I could fast-track it." "Do it." "Adam, the patient still has to consent to participate. If she's determined to give up, let me worry about that. Just make sure the option is available." After hanging up, Adam sat on the bench for another hour, watching the waves crash against the shore. He was crossing a line, manipulating the situation from behind the scenes, but for the first time in years, he was using his power and wealth for something other than increasing his own fortune. The question was whether Amanda would see it as a miracle or wonder why good fortune had suddenly smiled upon her family. He drove back to the hospital, timing his arrival for the end of visiting hours. Sure enough, Amanda emerged from the building at exactly 9 p.m., looking even more devastated than when she had arrived. Adam intercepted her in the parking lot, jogging to catch up with her. "Amanda!" She turned, startled, then her face crumpled with relief. "John, what are you doing here?" "I went to the diner and they said you called in sick. I was worried." "You came to check on me." "Of course. We're friends, remember?" Amanda burst into tears then, and Adam instinctively pulled her into a hug. She felt so small and fragile against him, this woman who worked 3 jobs and never complained. "She's dying, John," Amanda sobbed into his shoulder. "My mom is dying, and there's nothing I can do to save her. Tell me what's happening." Between tears, Amanda explained about the cancer, the failed treatments, the experimental therapy they couldn't afford. She told him about her mother's decision to give up, about the choice between hope and acceptance. "I don't know what to do," she finished. "How do you let go of the only person who ever believed in you?" Adam held her tighter, feeling the weight of his deception like a stone in his chest. "Maybe you don't have to let go yet. Maybe there are still options you haven't considered." "Like what?" "I've explored everything. Loans, payment plans, charity programs. We don't qualify for help because I make just enough money to disqualify us, but not enough to actually pay for treatment. What if the treatment became available through some other means, a research study or clinical trial?" Amanda pulled back to look at him. "Those have waiting lists, months long, and Mom doesn't have months. But what if? What if an opportunity presented itself?" "I don't believe in miracles anymore, John. Maybe you should start." Adam drove Amanda home, following her beat-up Honda to make sure she arrived safely. As he watched her disappear into her apartment building, he made a silent promise. He couldn't be the man who saved her directly, but he could be the force that made salvation possible. Tomorrow, Dr. Chen would call Helen Miller with an unexpected opportunity, and maybe, just maybe, Amanda would have reason to believe in miracles again. 3 days later, Amanda's phone rang while she was restocking napkin dispensers at the Ocean View Diner. The number was unfamiliar, but something made her answer. "Miss Miller, this is Dr. Elizabeth Johnson from Cedars-Sinai. I'm calling about your mother, Helen Miller." Amanda's heart stopped. Is she okay? Did something happen? She's fine. I'm calling with some potentially good news. We have an opening in a clinical trial for an experimental immunotherapy treatment that could be very effective for your mother's condition. I don't understand. We were told there were no trials available. A spot opened up unexpectedly. The treatment would be completely free as part of the research study. I'd like to discuss the details with you and your mother as soon as possible. Amanda sank into the nearest booth, her legs suddenly weak. Are you serious? This is real? Completely real. Can you come in tomorrow morning at 10 a.m.? I'll explain everything then. After hanging up, Amanda sat in stunned silence. Frank noticed her expression from across the diner. You look like you've seen a ghost, Miller. Everything okay? I think so. I think everything might actually be okay. That evening, Amanda couldn't concentrate on work. She mixed up orders, spilled coffee, and kept checking her phone to make sure she hadn't dreamed the conversation with Dr. Johnson. When John arrived at his usual time, she practically bounced over to his table. John, you're not going to believe what happened. Good news, I hope? The best news. A clinical trial opened up for my mom's treatment. Free treatment, John. $200,000 worth of treatment, and it won't cost us a penny. Adam felt a mix of relief and guilt watching her joy. That's incredible. How did this happen? I have no idea. Dr. Johnson said a spot opened up unexpectedly. Maybe someone dropped out, or maybe... She paused, a shadow crossing her face. Actually, it's almost too good to be true. Things like this don't just happen to people like me. Why not? Maybe the universe decided you were due for some good luck. The universe has never been particularly generous to the Miller family. Amanda sat down across from him, her initial excitement tempered by caution. What if there's a catch? What if the side effects are worse than the disease? What if it's some kind of scam? Did you research Dr. Johnson? She's legitimate. Head of oncology at Cedars-Sinai, published researcher, excellent reputation. But still, Amanda, you've been praying for a miracle. When one shows up, don't talk yourself out of it. You're right, I'm being paranoid. She smiled again, but Adam could see the worry still lurking in her eyes. My mom meets with Dr. Johnson tomorrow morning. If she agrees to participate, we could start treatment next week. How is your mom feeling about all this? Amanda's smile faltered. That's the complicated part. She's still talking about giving up. She says she doesn't want to be a guinea pig, that she's made peace with dying. But John, 40% survival rate is better than 0%. I have to at least try to convince her. What if she says no? Then I'll respect her decision, Amanda said, but her voice cracked slightly, because that's what you do when you love someone. You let them choose their own path even when it breaks your heart. They talked for another hour about hope and fear, about the courage required to fight and the courage required to let go. Adam found himself admiring Amanda more with every conversation, her strength, her wisdom, her ability to put her mother's autonomy above her own desperate need to save her. As the diner prepared to close, Amanda's phone buzzed with a text message. She read it, and her expression changed completely. What is it? Adam asked. A job offer. A really weird job offer. She showed him her phone. Look at this. Lente. The message was from a company called Titan Industries, offering her an interview for a position as a data analyst. The salary mentioned was $95,000 per year, more than triple what she was making from all three of her current jobs combined. This has to be a scam, Amanda said. I don't even have a resume posted anywhere, and I certainly don't have the qualifications for a data analyst position. Adam's blood ran cold. Titan Industries was the company that had tried to buy out his brother David's shares 5 years ago, the same company that had been trying to destroy Technova ever since. Somehow, they had found Amanda. How did they get your contact information? No idea. The message says they found me through professional networking research, whatever that means. Amanda reread the text. They want to interview me tomorrow afternoon. This is crazy, right? I should just ignore it. Maybe you should hear what they have to say, Adam said carefully, his mind racing. Worst case scenario, you get interview practice. John, I'm a waitress with no degree. I can't be a data analyst. Didn't you tell me you were good with numbers? That you had a gift for finding patterns? That was just high school stuff. This is corporate data analysis for a major tech company. What if you're better at it than you think? Amanda looked at him curiously. Why are you encouraging this? It's obviously too good to be true. Because I need to know what Titan Industries wants with you, Adam thought. But he said, because sometimes opportunities come when you least expect them, and sometimes the things that seem too good to be true are just true. Both a clinical trial for my mom and a dream job offer in the same week? Come on. Or maybe you've been due for some good luck for a very long time. Amanda was quiet for a moment, then not getting my hopes up. That's all anyone can ask. As Adam drove home that night, he called his head of security, Marcus Webb. I need everything you can find on Titan Industries' recent activities, Adam said. Specifically, any mention of Amanda Miller or data analyst positions. How recent? Past month. And Marcus, this is priority 1. I need the information by tomorrow morning. Understood, sir? Adam hung up and pressed harder on the accelerator. The clinical trial he could control, that was his gift to Amanda and her mother. But Titan Industries was a wild card, and wild cards, in his experience, were usually dangerous. If James Morrison, Titan's CEO, was targeting Amanda, it meant he had somehow discovered her connection to Adam. But how? Adam had been so careful with his disguise, so meticulous about maintaining the fiction of John Davis. Unless someone had been watching him, the thought sent a chill down his spine. If Titan knew about Amanda, they would use her as a weapon against him. They would exploit her desperation, her financial struggles, her love for her mother. They would turn his one genuine relationship in years into another battlefield in their corporate war. Adam reached for his phone again, this time calling Dr. Johnson directly. Elizabeth, it's Adam. Adam, it's almost midnight. I need you to move up Helen Miller's appointment tomorrow morning, first thing. Why the rush? Because I think we're running out of time. The next morning, Amanda sat in Dr. Johnson's office with her mother, listening to the explanation of the clinical trial. Helen looked skeptical, but was asking intelligent questions about side effects, success rates, and time commitments. The treatment would require you to stay in the hospital for the initial phase, Dr. Johnson explained. 2 weeks of intensive therapy, then outpatient follow-ups for 6 months. And if it doesn't work? Then we'll have learned valuable information that could help other patients. But Mrs. Miller, I want to be clear. This therapy has shown remarkable promise in early trials. I genuinely believe it could help you. Helen looked at Amanda, who was trying not to appear too desperate. What do you think, honey? I think we should try, Amanda said quietly, but only if it's what you want. And if I say no, then we'll make the most of whatever time we have. Helen was quiet for several minutes, studying the consent forms. Finally, she looked up at Dr. Johnson. When can we start? Meanwhile, across town in a sleek office building in Century City, Amanda sat in the waiting room of Titan Industries, wearing her only professional outfit, a navy blue dress she had bought for her high school graduation and hadn't worn since. James Morrison was everything she had expected from a tech CEO, mid-40s, expensive suit, the kind of confident smile that suggested he was used to getting what he wanted. His office overlooked the city, with floor-to-ceiling windows and minimalist decor that screamed success. Miss Miller, thank you for coming. I'm James Morrison, CEO of Titan Industries. Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Morrison. Though I have to admit, I'm not sure why you're interested in me. Please, sit down. And call me James. He gestured to a chair across from his desk. We're interested in you because we believe talent can be found in unexpected places. Your mathematical abilities, even without formal training, are exactly what we need for a special project. How do you know about my mathematical abilities? James smiled. We do our research. You were valedictorian at Santa Monica High School with perfect scores in advanced mathematics and statistics. Your teachers described you as having an almost intuitive understanding of numerical patterns. Amanda felt a chill. That was 10 years ago, and it was just high school. Talent doesn't have an expiration date. We need someone who can look at complex data sets and find connections that others miss. Someone with fresh eyes and natural ability. What kind of data? Competitive analysis, market research, corporate intelligence. James leaned forward. We're particularly interested in understanding our competitors' weaknesses. Which competitors? Technova Industries primarily. They've been dominating certain market segments, but we believe they're vulnerable. We need someone who can analyze their patterns, find their blind spots. Amanda shifted uncomfortably. Something about this conversation felt wrong, though she couldn't pinpoint exactly what. The position pays $95,000 annually, with full health benefits and stock options. You'd start immediately. Mr. Morrison, James, I appreciate the offer, but I'm not qualified for this position. Let me be the judge of that. He slid a tablet across the desk. I'd like you to look at some sample data and tell me what you see. Despite her reservations, Amanda found herself drawn to the numbers on the screen. It was a complex spreadsheet showing quarterly performance data for various tech companies. As she studied it, patterns began to emerge, subtle correlations between marketing spend and stock performance, cyclical weaknesses in certain companies' quarterly reports. Technova consistently underperforms in Q3, she said without thinking. Their marketing spend spikes in Q2, but their revenue doesn't reflect the investment until Q4. There's a lag time that suggests inefficient resource allocation. James smiled. Exactly. What else? Amanda continued studying the data, her mind automatically organizing and analyzing. Their employee retention drops significantly after major product launches. It suggests either burnout or better job opportunities elsewhere when they're most visible in the market. Outstanding. Anything else? Their CEO seems to make more conservative decisions in years, ending in odd numbers. Look at the acquisition patterns. Big risks in even years, consolidation in odd years. It's like he has a personal superstition or follows some kind of internal cycle. James leaned back in his chair, clearly pleased. Miss Miller, you just identified patterns that took our professional analysts weeks to discover, and you did it in 15 minutes. Amanda looked up from the tablet, suddenly aware of what she had just done. I was analyzing a competitor's weaknesses. You were demonstrating your value as an analyst by helping you find ways to hurt another company. By helping us compete more effectively. Amanda set down the tablet. I need to think about this. Of course, but I should mention that we need an answer today. The position starts Monday, and timing is critical for this particular project. Today? I know it's sudden, but opportunities like this don't wait. James pulled out a contract. Everything we discussed is outlined here. Salary, benefits, stock options. All you have to do is sign. Amanda stared at the contract. The salary alone would solve her family's financial problems instantly. Her mother could have the best care available, not just the clinical trial. They could move to a better apartment, maybe even buy a small house. But something still felt wrong. Can I ask how you found me? Specifically. James hesitated for just a moment, long enough for Amanda to notice. Professional networking research, as I mentioned. We use various databases to identify potential candidates. Databases of waitresses with high school math skills, databases of individuals with exceptional analytical potential who may be underutilized in their current positions. It was a smooth answer, but Amanda could hear the careful phrasing. This man was hiding something. I'll need to discuss this with my family, she said, standing up. Miss Miller, I understand your caution, but I should be transparent with you. This offer won't be available indefinitely. We need someone who can start immediately and commit fully to the project. Are you giving me an ultimatum? I'm giving you an opportunity, one that could change your life. As Amanda left the Titan Industries building, her mind was spinning. In one day, she had been offered two miracles, treatment for her mother and financial security for herself. But miracles, in her experience, always came with a price. The question was whether she was willing to pay it. Amanda returned to the Ocean View Diner that evening with her mind in turmoil. The clinical trial for her mother was starting Monday, a miracle she still couldn't quite believe. The job offer from Titan Industries sat like a weight in her purse, the contract unsigned but impossible to forget. The diner was unusually busy for a Friday night, filled with the usual mix of truckers, late-shift workers, and insomniacs seeking comfort food. Amanda moved through her section mechanically, taking orders and refilling coffee cups while her thoughts churned. At 10:15, John arrived as always, sliding into his corner booth with a tired smile. But tonight, Amanda found herself studying his face more carefully. Something James Morrison had said was nagging at her, about finding talent in unexpected places, about research and databases. "You look like you're somewhere else tonight," John observed as she poured his coffee. "Long day." "Mom started the clinical trial this morning." "That's wonderful news. How is she feeling about it?" "Hopeful for the first time in months. The doctor thinks she's a good candidate for the treatment." Amanda set down the coffee pot. "And I got that job offer I mentioned." "The data analyst position? Are you going to take it?" "I don't know. Something feels off about the whole thing." She looked at him directly. "John, can I ask you something personal?" "Of course." "What do you do for work? I mean, really do?" Adam felt his pulse quicken. "I told you, construction work, odd jobs." "Construction workers don't usually have manicures." Amanda's observation hit him like a cold splash of water. He looked down at his hands that were calloused from his garden work, but still bore the telltale signs of expensive grooming. I take care of myself. And construction workers don't usually know as much as you do about corporate strategy and business analysis." "I read a lot." "And they don't typically have the kind of insights you shared about trust and betrayal in high-stakes relationships." Adam could feel his carefully constructed facade crumbling. "Amanda, Who are you, John? Really?" Before Adam could answer, Frank's voice boomed across the diner. "Miller, Table 6 needs their check, and the coffee station needs restocking." Amanda gave John one last searching look. "We'll finish this conversation later." As she walked away, Adam's phone buzzed with a text from Marcus Webb. "Found the connection. Titan has photos of you entering the diner. They know about Amanda. We need to talk immediately." Adam's blood ran cold. If Titan had been watching him, if they had photographs, then Amanda's job offer wasn't a coincidence. It was a trap. They were using her desperation to get to him, and he had led them straight to her by maintaining his visits to the diner. He needed to leave, needed to call Marcus, and figure out how to protect Amanda without revealing his identity. But as he stood to go, Frank approached his table with a newspaper tucked under his arm. "John, right? You're here all the time now?" "Just like the atmosphere," Adam replied carefully. "Well, you might want to see this." Frank unfolded the Los Angeles Times business section and pointed to the front page. "Big story about some tech billionaire. Guy's worth like $3 billion. Can you believe that? And look at this picture. Doesn't he look familiar?" Adam's heart stopped. There, above the fold, was a professional headshot of himself from last month's Forbes interview. The headline read, "Technova, CEO Adam Smith announces major expansion plans." "Nah, I don't see it," Adam said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Really? I swear you two could be brothers. Same jawline, same eyes." Frank shrugged. "Guess everyone has a doppelganger somewhere." Frank left the newspaper on the table and walked away. Adam stared at his own face, looking back at him from the business section, his mind racing. He needed to get out of here before— Oh my God! Adam looked up to see Amanda standing beside the table, her face white with shock. She was staring at the newspaper, her eyes moving between the photograph and his face. "Amanda, I can explain— You're Adam Smith." Her voice was barely a whisper. "You're Adam Smith, CEO of Tech Nova Industries." The diner suddenly felt too small, too public. Other customers were starting to notice Amanda's distress, and Frank was looking over with concern. "We need to talk privately," Adam said urgently. "We need to talk right now." Amanda's voice was getting louder, drawing more attention. "How long have you been lying to me? Amanda, please." 3 weeks. 3 weeks I've been pouring my heart out to you, telling you about my money problems, my 3 jobs, my dying mother." Her voice cracked with emotion. "And the whole time, you're a billionaire playing dress-up, slumming it with the poor people?" "That's not what this is." "Then what is it? Some kind of social experiment? Research for a book? Oh God, are there cameras hidden somewhere?" Adam stood up, trying to calm her, but Amanda backed away from him as if he were dangerous. $3 billion, she said, her voice hollow. $3 billion, and you sat there while I worried about $8,000 for my mother's tests. While I agonized over whether I could afford to take a day off work, I wanted to help. Help? You could have helped. You could have solved my problems with pocket change. Tears were streaming down her face now. But instead, you turned my life into your entertainment. Amanda, it wasn't like that. The friendship we developed, the conversations we had, that was all real. Real? Nothing about this is real. John Davis doesn't exist. He's just another one of your business personas, isn't he? Other customers were openly staring now. Frank was approaching with concern, and Amanda's voice was carrying across the entire diner. You want to know the really sick part? Amanda continued. I was starting to care about you, about John, the construction worker who understood what it felt like to be betrayed by people you trusted. But John doesn't exist, does he? He's just a costume you wear when you want to feel normal. The feelings were real, Amanda. Everything I shared with you about loneliness, about betrayal, that was all true. How would I know what's true? You've been lying to me since the moment we met. She wiped her eyes angrily. That first night when you came in here looking homeless and desperate, that was all an act, wasn't it? You were probably bored in your mansion and decided to see how the other half lives. I was desperate that night, not for money but for something genuine, for someone who would see me as more than just my bank account. So you lied about who you were to trick me into it. I didn't plan for it to go this far. I needed to know what it felt like to be valued for something other than my wealth. And now you know, congratulations. You got your little science experiment, and I got to be your lab rat. Frank approached cautiously. Everything okay here, Amanda? No, Frank, everything is definitely not okay. Amanda pulled off her apron and threw it at Adam's feet. I quit. Amanda, wait, don't. She held up her hand, her voice cold and final. Don't follow me, don't call me, don't send flowers or checks or whatever it is rich people do when they've screwed someone over. Just leave me alone. What about your mother's treatment? Amanda stopped at the door and turned back, her expression bitter. What about it? Is that yours too? Did you arrange for the clinical trial as part of your charity work? Adam's silence was answer enough. Of course you did. Because the great Adam Smith can solve everyone's problems with his money, can't he? Well, congratulations. You just solved mine permanently. I never have to trust anyone again. She pushed through the door into the night, leaving Adam standing in the middle of the diner with every customer staring at him. Frank picked up the discarded apron, shaking his head. I don't know what just happened here, but you better not come back, Frank said quietly. Amanda's a good girl, and she doesn't deserve whatever game you've been playing. Adam left money on the table and walked out into the parking lot, but Amanda's car was already gone. He sat in his Honda Civic, staring at the diner's neon sign, feeling something he hadn't experienced in years. Genuine regret. His phone rang. Marcus Webb. "Sir, we have a problem. Titan Industries has been monitoring your visits to that diner for 2 weeks. They know about Amanda Miller, and they're using her job interview to—" "It's too late," Adam interrupted. "She knows who I am." "How?" "A newspaper. A goddamn newspaper." Adam laughed bitterly. "I can orchestrate multi-billion-dollar deals, but I can't keep my picture off the business page. What do you want me to do?" Adam looked at the diner one more time, then started his car. "Find out everything you can about Titan's plans for Amanda. And Marcus—" "Yes, sir?" "This time it's personal." As Adam drove home to his empty mansion, he realized that Amanda was right about one thing. He had solved her problems. He had given her mother a chance at life and offered her a way out of financial desperation. But in doing so, he had destroyed the only genuine relationship he'd had in years. And for the first time in his adult life, Adam Smith wondered if all his money was worth the loneliness it had bought him. Meanwhile, in her small apartment, Amanda sat on her bathroom floor crying harder than she had since her father left 15 years ago. Not just for the betrayal, but for the loss of something she hadn't even realized she'd found. Someone who had seemed to understand her, to value her for who she was rather than what she could provide. The cruelest part was that she had been falling for John Davis. The kind, thoughtful man who brought out the best in her, who made her feel like her dreams might still be possible. But John Davis had never existed at all. Monday morning found Amanda sitting in the sterile waiting room of Cedars Sinai, watching her mother prepare for the first round of immunotherapy treatment. Helen looked small and vulnerable in her hospital gown, but there was a determination in her eyes that hadn't been there a week ago. "You don't have to stay, honey," Helen said, squeezing Amanda's hand. "I know you have that new job to start." Amanda had told her mother about the position at Titan Industries, but had left out the details about Adam, or John, or whatever his real name was. The betrayal still felt raw, like an open wound that wouldn't stop bleeding. "I want to be here for the first treatment. I'm proud of you, you know, taking that job, finally using that brilliant mind of yours." Helen's voice was stronger than it had been in months. "Your father would be proud too." Amanda fought back tears. Her father had left when the medical bills started piling up, unable to handle the stress of her mother's illness. The irony wasn't lost on her that another man had now disappeared from her life the moment she discovered he could actually help. "Mrs. Miller?" A nurse appeared in the doorway. "We're ready for you." As they wheeled her mother away, Amanda felt the familiar weight of being utterly alone. She had quit her job at the diner in a moment of rage, burned the bridge with the one person who had seemed to understand her, and was about to start a job that felt morally questionable at best. But she needed the money. Her mother's treatment might be covered by the clinical trial, but there were still living expenses, rent, and the mountain of existing medical debt. The salary from Titan Industries would solve those problems, even if it meant compromising her principles. Her phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. "Amanda, please let me explain. What happened between us was real. Adam." She deleted the message without responding. At 2 p.m., Amanda walked into the Titan Industries building wearing the same navy dress from her interview, her resume printed on expensive paper she couldn't afford, carrying a briefcase she had borrowed from her neighbor. She felt like an imposter. But then again, she was getting used to that feeling. James Morrison greeted her personally in the lobby, his smile as calculating as she remembered. "Miss Miller, welcome to Titan Industries." "Ready to change your life?" "Ready to work," Amanda replied carefully. Her new office was on the 20th floor with a view of downtown Los Angeles that took her breath away. The desk was sleek glass and chrome, the computer top of the line, and the salary more than she had made in the past 3 years combined. Your first project, James said, placing a thick folder on her desk, is a comprehensive analysis of Technova Industries' operational weaknesses. Everything you need is in this file: financial reports, employee data, market analysis, internal communications we've acquired through various channels. Internal communications? Amanda opened the folder. How did you acquire these? Corporate intelligence is a complex field. The important thing is that the information is accurate and actionable. Amanda flipped through the documents, her analytical mind automatically beginning to process the data. But something felt wrong about the whole situation. Mr. Morrison, I need to ask directly, is this corporate espionage? It's competitive analysis. Every major corporation does it. But these look like private emails, internal memos, financial projections that shouldn't be public. James sat on the edge of her desk, his casual posture at odds with the intensity in his eyes. Amanda? May I call you Amanda? You're not here to judge the methods. You're here to find patterns, identify weaknesses, and help us compete more effectively. Compete or sabotage? Is there a difference in business? The question hung in the air like a challenge. Amanda thought about her mother lying in a hospital bed fighting for her life, about the stack of unpaid bills on her kitchen table, about the 3 jobs she had worked just to survive. What exactly do you want me to do? Find Technova's pressure points. Where are they vulnerable? What decisions could we influence? Which employees might be susceptible to better offers? James opened the folder to a specific page. For instance, their CEO, Adam Smith. What personal weaknesses could we exploit? Amanda's blood chilled at the mention of Adam's name. This wasn't just corporate competition, it was personal warfare, and somehow she had been recruited as a weapon. I don't think I'm comfortable with this. Comfortable? James's smile turned cold. Amanda, you're making $95,000 a year plus benefits to analyze data. Your comfort level is irrelevant. I could quit. You could, but then how would you pay for your mother's ongoing care? Even with the clinical trial, there will be additional expenses, follow-up treatments, medications. He leaned closer. And of course, there's the matter of your employment contract. What about it? The signing bonus you accepted, $25,000, comes with certain obligations. If you quit within the first year, it's due back immediately, with interest. Amanda felt trapped. She had used the signing bonus to pay down some of her mother's medical debt and cover the security deposit on a better apartment closer to the hospital. She didn't have $25,000 to pay back. This feels like blackmail. This feels like business. Now, shall we discuss your first assignment? For the next 3 hours, Amanda found herself deep in Technova's financial records, her mathematical mind automatically identifying patterns and vulnerabilities. Despite her moral reservations, she couldn't help but be fascinated by the complexity of the data. Technova was indeed vulnerable in Q3, just as she had identified in her interview. Their cash flow had a predictable dip every July that could be exploited by a competitor, timing a major product launch or acquisition. Their employee retention problems clustered around specific departments, software development and marketing, suggesting management issues that could be leveraged for talent poaching. But it was the personal information about Adam Smith that made her stomach turn. His divorce settlement details, his estranged relationship with his son, his pattern of charitable donations that suggested guilt over business practices. It felt like reading someone's diary without permission. Excellent work, James said, reviewing her analysis at the end of the day. You've identified opportunities our previous analysts missed entirely. What happens now? Now we begin Phase 2. We need inside information, current projects, upcoming announcements, strategic plans that aren't in the public record. How am I supposed to get that? I don't work at Technova. James smiled. But you know someone who does, Someone with access to the highest levels of the company. Amanda's heart stopped. Adam Smith, your friend John Davis, or should I say Adam Smith, CEO of Technova Industries. James pulled out a manila envelope and spread photographs across her desk. We know about your relationship, the late-night conversations at the diner, the personal confidences shared, the growing emotional connection. The photographs were taken with a long-range lens, Adam entering the Ocean View Diner, sitting in their booth, walking her to her car after work. Seeing their private moments documented like surveillance evidence made Amanda feel sick. You've been watching us. We've been watching him. You were an unexpected bonus. James gathered the photos. The question is, are you willing to rekindle that relationship for professional purposes? You want me to spy on him? I want you to renew your friendship and occasionally share information that could benefit Titan Industries. That's espionage. That's betrayal on a personal level. That's your job, the job that pays for your mother's care. Amanda stared at the photographs, her mind reeling. She thought about Adam's deception, the way he had lied to her for weeks while she poured out her heart to him. He had used her just as much as Titan was using her now. He lied to me, she said quietly. He did. He manipulated you, used your trust for his own entertainment. And now you want me to do the same thing to him. I want you to level the playing field. Amanda was quiet for a long moment, thinking about her mother's face when she agreed to the treatment. About the hope in her eyes for the first time in years. About the apartment closer to the hospital, the reduced financial stress, the possibility of actually having a future. What kind of information do you need? James's smile was triumphant. To start with, anything about their upcoming product launches, acquisition targets, or strategic partnerships. But Amanda? He leaned forward. The most valuable intelligence is always personal. Adam Smith's weaknesses, his fears, his pressure points. A man like that has enemies, and enemies can be useful allies. As Amanda walked to her car that evening, she felt like she was drowning in moral quicksand. Every step she took to save her mother seemed to require her to compromise another piece of her integrity. Her phone buzzed with another message from Adam. I know I hurt you, but please don't shut me out completely. We need to talk. This time, she didn't delete it. Instead, she stared at the message for a long time, thinking about James Morrison's photographs and his expectations, about her mother fighting for her life in a hospital bed, about the choice between loyalty to a man who had lied to her and financial security for her family. Finally, she typed back, Meet me at Santa Monica Pier tomorrow at 8 p.m. Ferris wheel. Come alone. If she was going to betray Adam Smith, she wanted to look him in the eyes when she did it. But as she sent the message, Amanda couldn't shake the feeling that she was crossing a line from which there would be no return, that in trying to save her mother's life, she might be destroying her own soul. The game was about to begin, and she was no longer sure who the real enemy was. The Santa Monica Pier at sunset was painted in shades of gold and crimson, the Pacific stretching endlessly toward the horizon. The familiar sounds of carnival games, children's laughter, and crashing waves created a backdrop that felt surreal given the gravity of what Amanda was about to do. She stood near the base of the Ferris wheel, watching families enjoy their evening, couples sharing cotton candy, teenagers on first dates, normal people living normal lives, unburdened by corporate espionage and moral compromises. At exactly 8 p.m., she saw Adam approaching. He had abandoned his John Davis disguise entirely, no baseball cap, no construction worker clothes. Instead, he wore dark jeans and a simple white button-down shirt, his hair perfectly styled, looking every inch the billionaire CEO he actually was. Even dressed casually, he carried himself differently than John Davis had. More confident, more commanding. But his eyes held the same vulnerability she had seen in the diner that first night. "Amanda, He stopped a few feet away as if afraid to get too close. "Thank you for agreeing to meet me." "Don't thank me yet." Amanda's voice was steady, but her heart was racing. "You might not like what I have to say. I deserve whatever you want to tell me." They walked toward the pier's railing in silence, the ocean breeze carrying the scent of salt and fried food. Amanda gripped the metal railing, trying to find the courage to begin. "I need to start by saying that everything I felt for John Davis was real," she said finally. "The friendship, the trust, She paused. "The feelings I was starting to have for you." "Amanda, let me finish." She turned to face him fully. "I was falling for you, Adam, for the man who listened to me talk about my dreams, who made me feel like I mattered, and finding out it was all based on a lie, it broke something in me." Adam's expression was pained. "The man you fell for wasn't a lie. John Davis was just a version of me without all the baggage. The conversations we had, the connection between us, that was completely real. But it was built on deception. Yes, and I'm sorry for that. I'm sorrier than you'll ever know." Amanda stared out at the water, gathering her courage for what came next. "Adam, I need to tell you something. Something that's going to hurt you the way your deception hurt me." "What is it?" "I took a job." "At Titan Industries." She felt him stiffen beside her, saw his hands clench on the railing. "When?" "Monday. James Morrison offered me a position as a data analyst." Amanda's voice was barely above a whisper. "For $95,000 a year." "Jesus, Amanda, do you know what Titan Industries is? What Morrison is capable of?" "I'm learning." She pulled the manila envelope from her purse, the one Morrison had given her containing the surveillance photos. "They've been watching you, Adam, watching us." Adam opened the envelope, his face growing darker with each photograph. "How long have they had these?" 2 weeks at least. Morrison knows about our friendship, about the diner, about everything." Amanda took a shaky breath. "He wants me to spy on you." "And you're telling me this because despite everything, I don't want to see you destroyed, and because I realized something today while I was analyzing Technova's data." "What?" "Morrison isn't just trying to compete with you. He's trying to destroy you personally. The information he wanted me to gather, it wasn't just about business weaknesses. He wanted personal details. Your relationship with your son, your divorce, your guilt about past business decisions. He's building a psychological profile to find ways to break you." Adam was quiet for a long moment, processing this information. "What kind of personal details?" "Everything. Your charitable donations, your therapy sessions after the divorce, your attempts to reconnect with Michael. He has access to information that should be private. How is that possible?" Amanda hesitated. "Some of it came from your brother David." "David?" Adam's voice was sharp with betrayal. "He's working with Morrison?" "Not officially, but Morrison showed me communications between them. David has been feeding Titan information about you for over a year. Financial details, personal habits, business strategies." Amanda pulled out her phone and showed him screenshots she had taken. "Look at this." The messages were damning. David discussing Adam's psychological weaknesses, suggesting the best times to attack Technova stock, even sharing details about Adam's relationship with his son. "My own brother," Adam said quietly, again. "There's more. Morrison has a plan called Project Downfall." "Sure. The goal isn't just to beat Technova in the market. It's to systematically destroy your reputation, your relationships, and your mental health until you're forced to sell the company." "And you were supposed to be part of that plan?" "I was supposed to get close to you again, regain your trust, and report back on your emotional state, your business plans, anything that could be used against you." Amanda's voice cracked. "He showed me surveillance photos of us together and said emotional manipulation was the most effective weapon against men like you." Adam turned to look at her directly. "Why are you telling me this? You could have gone through with it, gotten your information kept, your job." Because watching my mother fight for her life has taught me something about courage, and because—" she took a deep breath, "because even though you lied to me about who you were, you never lied about caring about me. I could see it in your eyes every time we talked. John Davis might have been a fake identity, but your feelings weren't fake. They weren't. Amanda, everything I told you about loneliness, about betrayal, about wanting to find something real, that was all true. I know, and that's why I can't be part of Morrison's plan to destroy you." They stood in silence, watching the Ferris wheel turn slowly against the darkening sky. Finally, Adam spoke. "What happens now? Morrison will expect you to deliver information." "I don't know. I signed a contract, took a signing bonus I can't pay back. If I quit or refuse to cooperate, I'll lose everything. My job, my apartment, the money I used to pay down Mom's medical bills. I can help with that." "No." Amanda's voice was firm. "I won't take your money. That's not what this is about." "Then what do you want to do?" Amanda was quiet for a long moment, thinking. "What if we turn the tables on him?" "What do you mean?" "Morrison expects me to spy on you and report back. What if I did exactly that, but with information you wanted him to have? False intelligence, misdirection, ways to make him overconfident?" Adam stared at her. "You want to double-cross Morrison?" "I want to protect my mother's treatment and keep Morrison from destroying you. This seems like the only way to do both." "Amanda, that's incredibly dangerous." "If Morrison discovers what you're doing, then I'll deal with the consequences. But I can't live with myself if I help him destroy someone I care about." "You still care about me, even after everything?" Amanda met his eyes. "I care about the man who sat in that diner and listened to my dreams, who made me feel like I wasn't invisible, who showed me kindness when he thought he had nothing to gain from it." She paused. "I care about Adam Smith, not just John Davis. I care about you too. More than I've cared about anyone in years. Then help me figure out how to beat Morrison at his own game." Adam was quiet, his business mind already working through possibilities. It would have to be subtle, information that seems valuable, but leads him in the wrong direction. False plans, fake vulnerabilities, manufactured opportunities that are actually traps. Can you do that? I've been playing corporate chess for 20 years, but Amanda, this puts you in incredible danger. If Morrison even suspects, I'm already in danger. My mother is dying. I'm drowning in debt, and I'm working for a man who wants to use me as a weapon. At least this way, I'm fighting back. Adam reached for her hand, and this time, she didn't pull away. If we do this, we do it together. No more lies, no more deception between us. Partners? Partners. Adam squeezed her hand. But Amanda, there's something else you need to know. What? The clinical trial for your mother. That was me. I arranged it. Amanda had suspected as much, but hearing it confirmed still stung. Why? Because you were desperate, and I had the power to help. Because watching you suffer, when I could fix it, was killing me. And you didn't think I had the right to know? I was afraid you'd reject the help, if you knew it came from me. I was afraid your pride would let your mother die, rather than accept charity from someone who had lied to you. Amanda considered this. You were probably right. I might have. So you're not angry? I'm grateful. For my mother's sake, I'm grateful. She looked at him seriously. But no more decisions about my life without consulting me. If we're going to be partners, we're equals. Agreed. As the lights of the pier began to twinkle in the gathering darkness, Amanda felt something she hadn't experienced in weeks. Hope. Not just for her mother's recovery, but for the possibility of building something real with Adam. Something based on truth instead of deception. So, she said, how do we destroy James Morrison? Adam smiled, not the calculated smile of a CEO, but the genuine smile of a man who had found an unexpected ally in the most unlikely place. Very carefully and very completely. As they walked back toward the parking lot, Amanda pulled out her phone and showed Adam a text from Morrison. "Progress report needed tomorrow. Hope your evening was productive." "It was," Adam said. "More productive than he could possibly imagine." The game was about to change completely. Morrison thought he was pulling the strings, but he was about to discover that his perfect weapon had just switched sides. And Amanda Miller, the waitress with a gift for seeing patterns, was about to show him exactly how dangerous underestimating someone could be. 3 weeks into their double-agent operation, Amanda had become a master of corporate deception. Every Tuesday and Friday, she would meet James Morrison in his Century City office, delivering carefully crafted intelligence that Adam had helped her prepare. False merger targets, fabricated product delays, manufactured employee conflicts, all designed to lead Titan Industries down expensive dead ends. Morrison was thrilled with her progress. "Exceptional work, Amanda," he said, reviewing her latest report on Technova's supposed expansion into the European market. "Smith's decision to enter Germany first instead of the UK shows exactly the kind of strategic weakness we can exploit." What Morrison didn't know was that Technova had no European expansion plans at all. Adam was actually preparing to acquire 3 smaller American companies while Titan wasted resources setting up operations in Berlin. "I'm glad you're pleased," Amanda replied, maintaining her professional demeanor despite the sick feeling in her stomach. "Adam seems to trust me again." "He's been sharing more personal information, too." "Such as?" "He's planning to reconcile with his son, Michael. Apparently, he's been seeing a therapist to work through their relationship issues." Amanda pulled out her phone and showed Morrison a fake text exchange she and Adam had created. "He's vulnerable right now, emotionally speaking." Morrison's eyes lit up with predatory interest. "Excellent. Family reconciliation attempts often make powerful men careless in business. Keep monitoring this development." As Amanda left Morrison's office that afternoon, she felt the familiar weight of guilt. Even knowing she was protecting Adam rather than betraying him, the act of deception was wearing on her soul. She had become good at lying, and that terrified her. Her phone buzzed with a text from Adam. "Emergency at Technova. Can you come in through the back entrance? Need your help with something urgent." 20 minutes later, Amanda was sitting in Adam's private office on the 40th floor of the Technova building, looking out at a panoramic view of Los Angeles. The space was enormous, larger than her entire apartment, with floor-to-ceiling windows, minimalist furniture, and walls lined with awards and photos from his business career. "What's the emergency?" she asked. Adam gestured to his computer screen, which was displaying what looked like financial chaos. "Someone has been attacking our stock price through algorithmic trading, microtransactions designed to create artificial volatility and drive down our value. It's sophisticated, coordinated, and it's costing us millions." Amanda studied the screen, her mind automatically beginning to process the patterns. How long has this been happening? 3 days. Our best analysts have been working around the clock, but they can't figure out the algorithm's logic. The trades seem random, but they're too effective to be random. Can I see the raw data? Adam pulled up spreadsheets showing thousands of transactions across multiple trading platforms. Numbers, timestamp, stock prices, volume indicators, a massive data set that would have overwhelmed most people. But Amanda's mind came alive. She stared at the screen, her eyes moving rapidly across columns of data. Within minutes, she was seeing connections that weren't immediately obvious. "There," she said, pointing to a cluster of trades. "These transactions on Tuesday morning, they're not random. They're following a Fibonacci sequence, but modified." "Modified how?" "Someone's using the golden ratio to time the trades, but they've adjusted the algorithm to account for market volatility." Amanda's fingers flew across the keyboard, pulling up additional data sets. "Look at this. The trade volumes are also following a mathematical pattern. It's like..." Like someone's playing music with the stock market. Adam stared at her in amazement. My analysts have been looking at this for 3 days and couldn't see any pattern at all. Because they're looking for traditional patterns. This is something else entirely. It's elegant, almost artistic. Amanda continued working, her excitement growing as the pattern became clearer. Whoever designed this algorithm is brilliant, but they made one mistake. What mistake? They got too clever. The mathematical beauty of the pattern is also its weakness. Amanda turned the screen toward Adam. If I'm right about the underlying logic, I can predict the next series of trades and create a counter-algorithm to neutralize them. How long would that take? Give me 2 hours and access to your trading systems. Adam hesitated. Amanda, our trading systems contain some of our most sensitive financial information. If Morrison finds out you have access, I won't tell him. This isn't about the spy game, Adam. This is about solving a puzzle, and I can solve it. For the next 2 hours, Amanda worked with an intensity that reminded Adam of her description of herself as a natural mathematician. She created predictive models, wrote algorithmic responses, and built defensive systems that would protect Technova's stock from further manipulation. But more than her technical skills, what impressed Adam was her intuitive understanding of the problem. She didn't just see the numbers, she understood the mind behind them. Finished, she announced, leaning back in her chair with exhaustion and satisfaction. Your stock should stabilize within the hour, and I've created safeguards that will prevent this kind of attack in the future. Adam checked the trading data in real time. Sure enough, the artificial volatility was already beginning to decrease, and Technova's stock price was recovering. How did you do that? I thought like the person who created the original algorithm. There's someone who loves mathematical beauty, probably with a background in both computer science and music theory. The trading pattern wasn't just about making money, it was about creating something aesthetically pleasing. Do you know who it was? Amanda's expression darkened. I have a pretty good idea. The algorithm's signature is consistent with work being done at Titan Industries. I've seen similar patterns in some of the projects Morrison showed me. So Morrison was behind the attack? Almost certainly, but Adam, there's something else you need to know. Amanda pulled up another screen showing communication logs she had discovered. While I was tracing the algorithm's origins, I found something. Morrison has been planning something he calls the final phase. What kind of final phase? Complete corporate destruction. Stock manipulation was just the beginning. He's planning to hack your internal systems, steal proprietary technology, and leak damaging information to the media, all timed to coincide with your son's visit next week. Adam went pale. Michael is coming here? How does Morrison know about that? Your brother David told him. Morrison plans to make it look like you're having a public breakdown just as you're trying to reconcile with your son. Maximum emotional damage. Adam sat down heavily in his chair. He's not just trying to destroy my company, he's trying to destroy my family. Which is why we need to end this now, before he can execute the final phase. How? Amanda smiled grimly. By giving him exactly what he thinks he wants. Morrison believes I'm his perfect weapon against you. It's time to let him try to use that weapon, and discover it's been pointing at him all along. Over the next week, Amanda and Adam executed their plan with precision. She provided Morrison with what appeared to be complete access to Technova's systems, actually an elaborate honeypot designed to document every illegal action Titan Industries took. Morrison took the bait completely. When he attempted to hack Technova's servers, steal proprietary algorithms, and manipulate trading data, every action was recorded and traced back to Titan Industries. Amanda had created a digital paper trail that would destroy Morrison in court. The trap was sprung on a Friday afternoon when FBI agents, armed with warrants based on Adam's evidence, raided Titan Industries. Morrison was arrested for corporate espionage, securities fraud, and racketeering. The charges would ultimately send him to federal prison for 15 years. But the most satisfying moment came when Morrison realized who had orchestrated his downfall. "You," he said, staring at Amanda as the handcuffs clicked around his wrists. "You're just a waitress. You couldn't have—" "I'm Amanda Miller, Chief Data Analyst of Technova Industries," she replied calmly. "And you just discovered what happens when you underestimate someone based on their circumstances rather than their capabilities." Morrison's face went white as he understood the full scope of his miscalculation. 3 days later, David Smith sat in Adam's office, his face etched with shame and regret. The younger brother, who had once tried to sell out their company, now looked broken and desperate. "I don't expect forgiveness," David said quietly. "I know what I did was unforgivable. Working with Morrison, betraying family secrets, trying to destroy everything we built together." Adam studied his brother's face, seeing genuine remorse for the first time in years. "Why, David? Why did you do it?" "Jealousy, resentment. You were always the successful one, the golden child. I wanted to prove I could beat you at something, even if it meant destroying us both." David's voice cracked. "I was so focused on competing with you that I forgot we were supposed to be on the same team. You nearly cost me everything: my company, my relationship with Michael, my chance at happiness with Amanda. I know, and I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make it right." Adam was quiet for a long moment, thinking about forgiveness and family, about the price of holding grudges versus the freedom of letting go. "David, I forgive you." His brother looked up in shock. "What?" "I forgive you. Not because what you did was okay, but because you're my brother, and life is too short to waste on old wounds." Adam leaned forward. "But this is your one chance. If you ever betray this family again—" "I won't." "I swear to you, Adam, I'll never give you cause to regret this, Mercy." They shook hands across the desk, and for the first time in years, Adam felt like he had his brother back. 2 months later, Amanda stood in Dr. Johnson's office, holding her mother's latest test results with trembling hands. "I don't understand," Amanda said, staring at the reports. "These numbers, they can't be right." Dr. Johnson smiled, her professional composure cracking slightly. "They're absolutely right, Amanda. The immunotherapy treatment has been remarkably successful. Your mother is in complete remission." "Complete remission? But the cancer was metastatic?" "Sometimes, rarely, the immune system responds to treatment in ways we don't fully understand. Your mother's body has not only fought off the cancer, but eliminated it entirely. As far as we can tell, she's completely cured." Amanda burst into tears of joy and relief. Helen Miller, sitting beside her daughter, looked healthier and more vibrant than she had in years. "Does this mean I can finally stop worrying about you?" Amanda asked her mother through her tears. "Honey, you can stop worrying about the cancer, but you'll never stop worrying about me. That's what daughters do." Helen squeezed Amanda's hand. "Now you can worry about normal things, like whether I approve of that young man you're dating." Amanda laughed. "Adam's 45, Mom." "He's hardly a young man. He's younger than me, so he's young. And more importantly, he makes you happy. That's all I've ever wanted for you." That evening, Amanda and Adam sat on the deck of his Malibu mansion, watching the sunset over the Pacific. The view was breathtaking, but Amanda found herself more interested in the man beside her than the scenery. "I have news," she said, curling up against him on the outdoor sofa. "Good news, I hope?" "The best news. Mom is completely cured. Dr. Johnson says the cancer is gone entirely." Adam pulled her closer, kissing the top of her head. "That's incredible. I'm so happy for you, for both of you. I keep thinking about that first night in the diner when you looked so lost and desperate. If someone had told me then that helping you would lead to all this, my dream job, my mother's recovery, finding love, I never would have believed it. If someone had told me that a waitress giving me her last piece of cake would save my life in every way that mattered, I wouldn't have believed it either. Amanda looked up at him. Do you ever regret the deception? The way we met? I regret lying to you, but I don't regret that it led us here. Adam traced her cheek with his finger. Sometimes the wrong path leads to the right destination. So what happens now? We've defeated the villain, saved the company, rescued my mother. This feels like the end of the story, or the beginning of a new one. Amanda Miller, Chief Data Analyst, what do you want our next chapter to look like? Amanda smiled, thinking about the future that spread out before them like an ocean of possibilities. I want to build something together, Technova, our relationship, maybe even a family someday. I want to use my mind for things that matter with someone who sees me for who I really am. I see you, Adam said, pulling her into his arms. I see your brilliance, your strength, your capacity for forgiveness. I see the woman who gave everything for her mother's health, who risked her safety to protect someone she cared about, who turned her greatest vulnerability into her greatest weapon. And I see you, Adam Smith, not the billionaire, not the CEO, but the man who was brave enough to seek genuine connection in a world full of people who only wanted his money. As they kissed under the stars, Amanda thought about the journey that had brought them here. From a failing diner in Santa Monica to a mansion overlooking the Pacific, from desperation to hope, from deception to truth. She had given Adam her last piece of cake on a night when she had nothing left to give. In return, he had given her a life she never could have imagined. Sometimes, Amanda realized, the smallest acts of kindness create the biggest miracles. And sometimes, when you're brave enough to see past someone's circumstances to their heart, you find exactly what you've been looking for all along. 6 months later, Amanda would accept Adam's proposal on the same Santa Monica pier where she had decided to trust him with the truth. They would be married a year after that, with Helen Miller in perfect health walking her daughter down the aisle. But that night, sitting under the stars with the man she loved, Amanda Miller knew she had already found her happy ending. It had started with a piece of chocolate cake and a choice to show kindness to a stranger. It had led to a love story that would change both their lives forever. So, what did you think of Adam and Amanda's story? Give the story a rating from 0 to 10. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next story.